Trust the Profits, the Formula, and El Hombre. El Hombre and the Formula. Today, the 2022 Kentucky Derby focus is on Zandon. Zandon, that would be our number 3 horse. Chad Brown trained, Flavian Pratt's the jockey. Interesting horse here. We've been talking about a couple speed horses. This is what I would consider a closer. What do you think over there, El Hombre?
Yeah, I had the pleasure of watching this horse perform at Keeneland a couple weeks ago and taking down the Bluegrass Stakes. Closed out, like you said, came a little bit out of the clouds and passed the whole field, including a couple of the big names up to that point,
Mm-hmm.
and got it done easily. I mean, maybe not easily. That might be a little strong, but
Sure.
pretty dominant performance. Looking back at that field, not so sure how great that field really was. Side note before you go in any further on him, CBS Sports and Vegas have him at 6-1
Yeah.
current odds to bet, which is the same as Taiba and just slightly off Epicenter, who's at 5-1. So they apparently the betting community does see Zandon as just as big of a threat to win as anybody at this point.
Xanon's interesting. So he won the Bluegrass, but apart from that, he won his maiden race in Belmont. Came in a contested second at Remsen, which some people here will fight us on and say that he did win over Mo Donegal. But as it stands right now, he's number 2. Risen Star, he came in third in that race. Pretty much every race he's been in, he's been close, though. I mean, even in the Risen Star, 3 lengths off of Epicenter and just behind Smile Happy. So he was almost second in that race, and he beat Smile Happy by 2.5 in the race that you saw, the Bluegrass Stakes. I have a hard time placing this horse as high as you guys do. He came from 11th place at the 3/4 mark at Bluegrass to win. 8th place, he was 3/4 off the mark to come into third at the Risen Star. I'm curious to see if he can actually pull that off in the Derby, because this is a horse, and there's another horse that I like that sits way back as well, who I feel has had a little bit more success. Um, but yeah, he's an interesting horse because of that, and we'll see if he can make his way to the front in that final stretch in the Derby with a huge field.
Yeah, you brought up a point that you can look at either side of the coin.
Yeah,
Number one, he has only won the Bluegrass and have been second, third, or close and everything else. But the other side of that coin is he has not had a bad race, really. He hasn't done anything
yeah,
that I would call a bad race. He's been less than stellar, and obviously the Bluegrass was his performance of the year so far, and the timing is right for it to be your best run. If if you want to peak, now's the time. And I think
98 buyer, pretty good
yeah,
number.
I think and that was in a really nasty, cold, wet day at Keeneland. But believe me, I know because I was suffering in the misery.
Yeah,
But I
yeah,
mean,
and his time
I
considering the
agree.
weather,
He is hard to gauge. He's
he's
hard
really
to
hard to gauge.
gauge. I mean, I don't like him as much as the Epicenter or Taiba. If you're putting a gun to my head and telling me I got to bet my
For
life
sure.
savings on something, I'm not super comfortable with him. But I do think he's going to be on the board or real close, and I can't see leaving him off of any betting tickets either.
Right. And that's why I've got him, and in my comparison, my Derby comparison, I compare him to Hot Rod Charlie. I think in terms of
Yeah.
running styles, they're very different, but in terms of the final outcome, Hot Rod Charlie was always one of those horses that when
Yes.
you saw him in the PP, you were like, that's the horse that's going to win. And very rarely
Or at
did he
least
actually
second.
win, but he
Yeah.
would always get second or third, including
Great.
in the
Yeah.
Derby.
I think that's a great comparison.
I
Other than
agree.
Hot Rod Charlie did not have that big performance of what Zandon just did at the Bluegrass. Hot Rod Charlie did not have that dominant performance before the Derby.
He had
Um,
one race that I think that he won. I can't remember which one it is, and I'm sure
it
the
was,
commenters will
it,
flame me for this, but
and they'll flame me for what I just said too, but that's fine. But I don't think, I do know that he had a big win.
he did.
I don't think it was as impressive, and I don't think the field he was in for that race was impressive. And I'm drawing a blank on it too. So
It's the Louisiana Derby. That's
was
I
it?
thought that's what it was. I
The,
didn't want to throw it out there before
okay,
I
so
figured
who
it
was
out.
second, and third in that race? Because I'm curious now.
Midnight Bourbon was two
Which
lengths
which cut
behind.
second on his heels like 30 times. It felt like those two had a epic.
Yeah,
That was an epic battle between those two of the better
including the
horses.
Derby. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Great Midnight Bourbon. R.I.P. again. But
Too
yeah, that
soon.
was
Too soon.
those two.
Yeah.
I think that's a very fair comparison between Zandon and Hot Rod
Yeah.
Charlie.
And again, not running styles, but purely in terms of where they finish and what's expected of them in the race before the race. I feel like there's some kindred spirit there.
Yeah, good stuff. So I think we have kind of said it without saying it. I don't think that he's on the level with the first with Taiba or Epicenter as far as
No.
odds go. I don't think he will be post time. I think his post time is going to be a little higher than the other two that we've talked about, Taiba and Epicenter. I think he's more. He's going to be a couple pegs below those two, but
I'm
probably third.
I'm curious to see where he goes because there's a few more horses we got to focus on here that have put up more wins, like a couple more big stakes wins.
Yep.
And in terms of the voting public, I know some people just like to focus on the big wins. I get that. I like to do that as well. I have a feeling some of those could bump Zandon down. I'm thinking of
So you
one or
think
two in particular.
you think he'll drop down to fourth or fifth betting choice then
I think
potentially?
he could be like a 10 to 1 by the time the race goes off. The
I don't
gates
know.
open.
There's I think he's debatable. I think there's a lot of people that do like him a lot,
Yeah.
and I'm
Yeah.
thinking more like 8 to 1. But we'll see. That's going to be like I said, this is going to be a great betting race. The
Yes.
2022 Derby is going to be. I mean, like I said, I have not personally been able to lock in on one that I'm going to commit to betting to win this thing yet. Anyway,
Yeah. I mean,
I would if you do, I commend you for making a decision. I mean, obviously post position is going to come into play, but
that's what I was going to say. Yeah. I
yeah,
I've got a horse or two that I like that we've talked about before, and I'm curious to see what the post position is. I try not to put too much into the post position, as I argued last year. And obviously, known agenda, he wasn't high on my list. He was high enough and looked bad enough that it got me rethinking post one a little bit. But I'm still trying to hold to my guns a little
post
bit.
one's a death sentence
We'll see.
unless you're a dead closer.
I don't know. Yeah, and that could happen. So this is an interesting point too, and I think Vinny brought this up on one of our uh, broadcasts before. Zandon or Modonegal getting the one could be the first time we've seen the one win in a long time if everything sets up well for them because they might not get the gate rush that other horses would.
Yeah, and then there's other horses where that'll just kill their shot. But those two, I think
Yep.
that's a fair assessment that they could win out of the one, either one of those two. Anything else on Zandon before we close out?
I think we covered just about everything on Zandon that we can in about 5 minutes time.
All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. Peace
Thank
out.
you.
Many more videos to come. Thank you.
Cheers.